We are here to tell the truth about al-Taqiyya, which is in the Quran. It tells you about deception and how they tell of the world how peace is the primary agenda, but instead it's peace under their flag. It's peace under submission to Islam. We're in Dar al-Harb, which means we are the land of the infidel. And until all of Islam doesn't realize that we're going to fight back, they will kill us at every means. I am not racist because Islam is not a race. It's an political ideology. It's a theocracy. Theocracy.
On September the 11th, 2001, our country was hit with one of the largest catastrophes we've experienced in a very long time. Now, 10 years later, one of the buildings in the Lower Manhattan area, within the vicinity of the Ground Zero site, depending on what you consider the vicinity of the Ground Zero site, an old abandoned Burlington coal factory is being purchased to build a community center with an additional Muslim prayer area on the top 2 floors.
The story of the Ground Zero Mosque, depending upon how far we go back, goes back to Imam Faisal Abdul Rauf and his wife Daisy Khan, who've been active in the Muslim community in New York for at least a few decades. About a year ago, they, with the involvement of a local Jewish community center, began working on plans for building an Islamic community center in this particular site that is about 2 blocks away from Ground Zero.
Although community organizers have voted almost 10-1 for building this community center, the topic and idea have been met with complete rejection.
Any place they conquer, they have to put some sort of mosque and some sort of statue or some sort of monument.
We want the truth. We want people to know what Islam is.
The mosque at Ground Zero represents
only until they got power to overcome
a movement known as political Islam.
Forces have gathered to blow out of all proportion the construction of a minor community center to transform it into a training ground for terrorists and an insult to the victims of 9/11 and a tribute to medieval Muslim subjugation of the West. There is no training ground for terrorists. There is no insult to the victims of 9/11. There is no tribute to medieval Muslim subjugation of the West. There is, in fact, no Ground Zero mosque. It isn't a mosque. A mosque, technically, is a Muslim holy place in which only worship can be conducted. What is planned for 45 Park Place, New York City, is a community center.
With a museum, a swimming pool, facilities for an auditorium, facilities for classes.
A basketball court and a culinary school. It is to be 13 stories tall, and the top 2 stories will be a Muslim prayer space. What a cauldron of terrorism that will be. Terrorist chefs and terrorist point guards.
Who exactly is objecting to this community center and why?
Some notorious Islamophobes, for lack of a better term, enter the picture.
They have this kind of this very linear message that Muslims are somehow backwards and dangerous for America.
A common trope in the attacks on Muslims today is this idea that Muslims publicly preach peace, but privately are preaching war.
We are here to tell the truth about al-Taqiyya, which is in the Quran. It tells you about deception and how they tell of the world how peace is the primary agenda, but instead it's peace under their flag. It's peace under submission to Islam.
And so there's this notion that is often raised, this alleged idea called taqiyya, okay, that the common Muslim doesn't even know about. But the assertion here is that according to this so-called belief, Muslims are, if not permitted, they're even instructed to lie about their intentions.
So you just see an emboldening of right-wing politics in this country. And seeing this as an opportunity to galvanize a large portion of the population, especially groups like the JDL.
You find this even in some movies, this notion that this is some Muslim practice, that you hide your intentions and then you present a wonderful, happy, smiling face when actually behind everyone's back you're planning to take over and subjugate everyone.
I don't believe this is a national, massive movement against Islam. I believe that it's loud, few people who happen to be bigots and fascists, and they're promoting their own agenda. And if people get on board with that, we have to make sure that they understand that they're doing the wrong thing, and they're not being American by doing that.
Now, one interesting thing, when we were down there, we noticed that they were holding signs saying, PLO, go to hell. Upon further research, the PLO is actually the Palestinian Liberation Organization. Now, you might ask yourself, what does Palestine have to do with this topic?
Because of 9/11, because of the first World Trade Center bombing, because of events overseas, it becomes easy to then present Muslims as people who already are documented as hostile to America.
Furthermore, we noticed that they were holding pictures and talking of this kahane or kahin, and I couldn't help but ask some of the people at the protest, asking, who is this kahin?
Basically, Kahan is almost only as important as his followers, because his message wasn't just that Palestinians were like the problem and needed to be removed, but he actually explicitly said over and over and over again that tactics need to be taken to kill and completely destroy Palestinian population.
So what am I also saying? That there are religious figures who are even part of the hate. There are political figures who are trying to capitalize on the hate to elevate their own chances at election. And there are even religious figures who have no investment except to either win converts or just condemn everyone else, who are also part of the hate.
Organizations like the JDL really don't have that much of a concern about the building of a mosque or not. They're very well aware that there are plenty of mosques all around the United States. What they really want is to gain support on their side against the whole Palestinian-Israeli issue. And this will apply to most organizations that are against the building of this community center.
The constant bombardment of various media outlets saying that Muslims are the terrorists. So we, the people, are saying that is not true, that is inaccurate, that's false reporting, that we stand with our communities, all of them, the immigrant community as well as the Muslim and Arab community, and we embrace them to be part of America.
Thankfully, there are many media outlets out there, both in articles and video, that have recognized the unnecessary conflict this has created and how it's really a silly, elongated topic that really has no danger and is just a simple community center. There are many of them all around the United States. This one just happens to be near Ground Zero.
Doesn't America have religious freedom everywhere?
Yes, and that's what makes this country great. But this is different.
How's that, Mr. Dan?
Muslims attacked us on September 11th.
All Muslims? Wow, that must have been a big plane.
Dog boy! If we let them build their mosque there, it'd be like...
Like Muslims praying in the Pentagon?
What the... I didn't know about that. No! It'd be like...
Like letting Japanese fly planes over Pearl Harbor?
Yes! No. It'd be like a slap in the face to those who died and suffered on September 11th.
Oh, Like when House Republicans said no to more medical care for Ground Zero emergency workers.
No, dog boy, that's different. And I'm sure they have their reasons.
But wouldn't it be good to have peaceful Muslims right there?
You just don't get it, dog boy. Anywhere but there. Anywhere.
Anywhere?
Yes, anywhere.
Mr. Dan, but what about...
No buts. Anywhere else.
Mr. Dan, look out!
Anywhere but here.
Mr. Dan?
Here, bad, too.
Whoa, Mr. Dan, they have a swimming pool, too. Do all mosques have swimming pools?
Dog boy.
I like swimming, Mr. Dan.
We are Muslims and I feel welcome. Thank you, New York. I am a Muslim, a proud Muslim, and I feel welcome. And I agree with what she's saying, and I feel very proud. Because she is saying something that I feel inside that I cannot get out. But on the streets of New York, I am heard.